It's a case that forced America to confront uncomfortable truths about racism, hate, and domestic terrorism. June 17, 2015, Charleston, South Carolina. The Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, one of the most historic black churches in the South, was holding its regular Wednesday night Bible study. A young white man, 21-year-old Dylan Roof, walked in. Nobody knew him, but the church welcomed him anyway. That's what they did. They welcomed strangers, opened their doors to anyone seeking spiritual community. For nearly an hour, Roof sat with these people. They prayed together. They studied scripture together. They showed him kindness and fellowship. And then at 8 p.m., Roof opened fire. He murdered 9 people. 9 people who had welcomed him. 9 people who were simply trying to worship. The victims included grandparents in their 70s and 80s. People who had lived through the civil rights era, who had fought for equality, who had seen so much progress, and they were murdered in their own church by a white supremacist. The next day, Roof was captured. During his interrogation, he showed a disturbing lack of remorse. "Did you shoot them?" a detective asked. "Yes," Roof replied matter-of-factly. "What gun did you use?" "A Glock 45. During the investigation, police found Roof's manifesto, pages and pages of racist ideology. They found photos of him posing with Confederate flags. They found a list of other black churches he had considered targeting. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a mental breakdown. This was terrorism, plain and simple. Roof had specifically chosen this historic church because of its significance to the black community. At trial, prosecutors presented evidence of his white supremacist beliefs. They showed how he'd worn shirts with racist symbols, including the number 88, white supremacist code for Heil Hitler. They also showed surveillance footage of Roof practicing at a gun range with the same weapon he used in the massacre. Perhaps most disturbing was the testimony about how calculated everything was. Roof had scouted the church beforehand. He'd planned every detail. He knew exactly what he was doing. The verdict was never in doubt, guilty on all counts. The sentence, death. But even as Roof was condemned, many Americans grappled with bigger questions. How does someone become so filled with hate? How does a 21-year-old decide that mass murder is the answer? And how do we prevent it from happening again? President Obama addressed the nation, acknowledging that this wasn't the first time black churches had been attacked, referencing the dark history of racial violence in America. Roof's actions forced a national conversation about race, about domestic terrorism, about the symbols of the Confederacy, and about how we confront hate in our society. He sits on death row now, his execution delayed by appeals.